Welcome to today's episode of China Tech Chat. My name is Bettina and Kim is also here. You know us from the last episode about the drift of manufacturing from China. Today we're going to talk about the status of 5G and its opportunities for China. For example, just recently, former Google CEO Eric Schmidt said in the Wall Street Journal interview that when it comes to 5G, even the US is well behind China in the race to build out the 5G technology. He also said that China will own the 5G future if 5G is not made a national priority of the US. 5G refers to the next generation of wireless internet and promises super fast download speeds. But that's not all. It could also form the basis of industrial and military applications and offer the base technology for these devices to communicate with each other. So that's why it is seen as a critical technology or even an enabling technology. And that's also one of the reasons China is moving quickly with its own rollout and its future applications. But how advanced is China really in this field?
Well, Bettina, China's average 5G download speed is significantly faster than the US's. We can see that China's median download speed was over 299 megabytes per second in the third quarter of 2021 versus 93.73 megabytes per second in the US, according to Ookla, which is a global leader in the fixed broadband and mobile network testing applications data and analysis. Also, we can see that China has quickly built nearly 1.6 million 5G base stations, and 5G package users have reached 870 million. According to the Ministry of Industry and Transformation Technology, China has the biggest network of its kind in the world. And providers like China Telecom, China Unicorn, and China Mobile all unveiled 5G tariffs that start at around 128 yuan, which is only around $18 per month, which is a bargain, obviously, compared to the prices in Europe and US still. So the rollout is very efficient and also worth the price. In the first quarter of 2022, the 5G penetration rate in mainland China has reached a whopping 36.83%, and the 5G penetration in Hong Kong already reached around 30%. And that makes China ranking second and third in the world, respectively, with its mainland and also extended parts of China, which is significant. Yeah?
Yes, very significant and also really interesting because while China's 5G mobile network is already the world's biggest or ranking second and third, as you said, China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, MIIT, and its head Xiao Yaqing said the existing number of base stations is not enough. That's why China's ramping up its stations and further already preparing for the development of the more advanced 6G wireless network. And we all know that we're still working on 5G in US and Europe. But what is 5G? Let's have a closer look on the technology. 5G refers to the fifth generation of the public mobile ratio standard. It enables data rates of up to 10 gigabits. So even ultra-high resolution videos can be streamed via 5G. Real-time applications are possible and much more. As I said, 5G is seen as a new enabling technology for a new digital revolution. So it makes the way for a lot of applications that we will have a look at later on. It's designed for different application scenarios from the very beginning, and that's very special because what you can do with 5G is that you can use different radio frequencies for different applications. And that's also one of the secrets why it's so high performing. You can install virtual levels in the radio networks. You can make new levels, and these levels can be optimized for particular usages. And I give you some examples. You could, for example, say for video streaming, we take a high download rate and a high latency. But for video games, we set a low latency with medium download rate. So you see that we have a special optimization for video streaming and a special optimization for video games. And you can even assign certain bandwidths to certain data devices within the same radio cell, which means, for example, if you have sensors, they do not need to share the bandwidth with video streaming devices. So each device in the network, and it can be mobile phones, it can be sensors, it can be machines. They all are assigned different, you could say data channels with optimized performance in the 5G networks, which makes it ultra high performing. And to conclude the advantages, you have a high range of the 5G network, which means it has an excellent coverage pretty much everywhere, which we nowadays don't have, especially in Germany. You have through the high bandwidth, you also have high download speed. The short signal propagation delays mean that it's working well for real-time applications, which could also be really disruptive for digital health applications. Imagine a doctor just going to an accident and helping the first aid helpers on the spot via video streaming. That's possible via real-time applications and edge computing. And coming back to the sensors, because of the low energy consumption of 5G, the sensors can run self-sufficiently and for a very long time. In real life, this means that everything that can be connected will be connected in the future, and it will be a boom in the Internet of Things space. Sensors and devices send the signals, create huge amounts of data, and artificial intelligence analyzes and derives recommendations for later action. So super smart devices will connect us to everything from anywhere. We will soon speak about applications. Timo has brought some amazing applications from China, but I also give you some more data to explain why this is important. IoT devices in business, so sensors and machines, for example, will increase tenfold globally. In 2025, between 80 and 100 billion devices will produce far more than 150 zettabytes of data. And you will be asking yourselves, what the hell is zettabytes? So 150 zettabytes of data is 150 billion gigabytes. In China, we will see about 4 billion IoT devices on 5G by 2021, and 40% of the world's 5G users will live in China. And now, Kimo, tell us what else is going on when looking at Chinese 5G applications.
Yeah, so Betty, you've explained how this technology works. And it's surprising that China is already quite ahead in having implemented 5G in everyday uses. And obviously, China can expand on those use cases that are already in place for the future. Let's just talk about in 5 ways in which this new technology is used in China and already in place. So we can say that drones report on traffic conditions in Langzhou and also in Fuyong. And in those 2 regions, they monitor how vehicles are moving in the streets, and they monitor at which speed they're moving, what's the vehicle type, then what's the speed of the vehicle, and all this information can go into a data lake or a big data collective, like a data cloud, and of course can be used in the future for advanced analytics applications. And we can see that this is only possible with 5G because this new technology makes it possible to really react on this information and interconnect those devices. So we can see that drones, for example, coordinate also in real time with other smart devices and are able to then land autonomously in the stations and reload and recharge without any human help. Also, this technology can help in future to bring forward AI and also how smart machines interact self-sufficiently and also take action. We can see, for example, that also human traffic is monitored. This could be the case if there's, for example, a crime that AI interacts directly and, for example, shuts the doors. Yeah. This is the first example. Yeah. Do you want to have a comment on that, Betty? I think you just mentioned something.
Yeah, I was just thinking about predictive maintenance solutions that drones are already covering in some parts of China, checking railways and also, railway and electricity networks, for example. And as you said, this is, I just wanted to give an example to what you were just explaining. I do not have anything to add.
The second example that we have is Beijing's smart airports. And 5G is used in Beijing's smart airport as Huawei and China Unicorn provides this technology in order to for check-ins to enable quick face recognition without any human interference. And with the old cellular networks, that's just not possible because we need this real-time information, and also the amount of data that has been transferred is huge. And so being able to really quickly transfer data is paramount in order to scale with this huge traffic in airports. We can also see this in luggage tracking. And in the Hong Kong airport, they have even a more ambitious project because they want to become the smartest airport in the world, outshining what already Beijing has in place. And they want to use 5G to augment reality there. So that means basically that people run around with for example, their phones and can see something on their phones, or even like smart glasses in the airport where they have to go, which gates they have to go, which directions they have to go. Nice. There's some really futuristic stuff there. And I'm really looking forward to see this in action and see some first trial videos when this comes into action. And I'm super excited for what 5G has in stock in China, especially in the augmented reality space. I mean, we know it from Pokemon Go, for example, when we had this augmented reality trend that exploded. And now when this comes to everyday life, to airports, it makes people's life more convenient. It is very exciting because 5G is fun, and also like augmented reality is fun. And I really welcome any fun that comes to like the everyday life and makes it more exciting.
Yeah. And what many people don't know is that actually the dizziness that you feel with the augmented or virtual reality glasses that we have right now, many times comes from the small or the low latency levels that we have with the 4G network. So there will not be any more dizziness feelings when wearing these glasses. So like the usage and the comfort will improve a lot with 5G as well. So we can, I think, expect that more people will start using these glasses and will have a lot of fun, as you said.
Yeah, that's usually important because when there's a technology that makes people feel sick or makes people feel inconvenienced by it, then it's just not applicable. And so 5G is really makes those technologies marketable and makes those technology really competitive and also applicable to everyday situations and also to the masses. So there are no health concerns anymore, and we can see those things really roll out. The third example we have is 5G in public transport. And 5G in public transport is exciting because for the first time you can play like games on your public transport. So we have seen in Chengdu and Beijing, they have equipped one subway each with 5G. And this basically means that those passengers can enjoy the stream of HD video and also gaming inside of the train. And as we know in Asia, online games, for example, the what is it called? Betty, like what is that called? This online game super popular with younger generation people where you have like a hero.
You shouldn't ask me. No clue. I'm not an expert in that.
But I think our listeners maybe know it's not like Dungeons and Dragons, but it's something like with DOD or something like this. It's one of those short abbreviations. It's a very popular game, and I always have my Chinese friends like always on their phone. And I think it's a big amendment and big basically improvement for the public transport, and people really want to go by train more, which is also good for the environment because the time passes more quickly. The fourth topic, we have 5G, which is where 5G is important, is of course the cashless stores, and we have seen that already with Alibaba stores, where they are very innovative, where people can basically shop conveniently. And now we have the next revolution of those in-city stores, where you have the cashless future. And this cashless future not only gives you the convenience of shopping or whatever you want, and basically also like eating in there and being convenienced by delivery, but also basically not having to bother with any interaction when leaving the store, or basically picking things, so making things streamlined and very efficient. And we have seen very similar activity in concept stores from Amazon and also JD. But the problem until now has been that the slower networks just don't make it possible for a large amount of people to enter the store. So until now, the people who can enter the store has been limited because the technology can only track so many people. With 5G, the data volume just increases, and it makes it possible to recognize and censor what people are picking, what people are doing, what people are when people are moving a lot easier. And so we have it really like on large scale that this self-serving stores can be implemented. And in a second, we will touch up on how this is actually important for VC and entrepreneurs, how they can actually leverage this trend and actually can hop on the bus, hop on the bus to make this work,
nice.
right? Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
All right.
Yeah.
So the last topic I want to talk about, the last real-time implication for 5G is farming. Yeah, it might seem far-fetched, but farming is one of the main customers for 5G technology, especially in the B2B business there. Because we can see that this tech can help with their face recognition, not recognize humans but animals, just like pigs, for example, and can recognize if those pigs are sick, if they have a disease, and they can actually automatically also feed them if necessary. So cutting out this human component, it's a high maintenance, high labor job in farming, especially in animal farming. So this is the human component can be cut out, and also the disease control is a pretty significant feature. And most people don't think of actually face recognition using with animals, but just with humans. But it's also applicable to objects, right? To objects, recognize if there's, for example, a tissue, if it's the right size, if it's a tissue, garbage picking. And now we see it also going into the animal farming sphere here, where we see applicability. And also this is huge because we have a lot of farming happening, especially in China.
Very true.
Yeah.
Exciting trends. Yeah.
Exciting trends there. Exciting trend. Exciting application for 5G. And Betty, maybe you can just elaborate, why would these trends not be possible with 5G, and why is 5G really making the difference here? And the next step also maybe elaborate on how entrepreneurs should align with this China's 5G vision.
Yeah. So there's actually I think I have explained what the technology is capable of doing. And I will also mention that there's going to be a lot of real-time applications. And I think speed is going to be more and more important.
Yeah.
Also, we can just take the farming example. You need to recognize these things quickly, but you also collect a lot of data, and these data need to be analyzed, and these data need to be sent to computing centers. And when I did my research on 5G, what I found very interesting is that also the computing center infrastructure is going to change with 5G, because what we have right now, we know that Amazon, Alibaba, all these like Google, Facebook, all these big companies, they have their big computing centers, which are being used by the for consumer applications, but also by companies in the B2B space. They all run their, you can say, their analysis and their processes via these computing centers. But with the 5G infrastructure, there will also be more and more blockchain applications, because it's also, you must imagine, there will be lots of sensors and machines delivering data, and you must be sure that data which is crucial for business operations cannot be hacked. So there will be blockchain technology inside the, you could say, factories, inside the business processes, also for consumer tech to make it more secure. And we know that blockchain has one advantage, which is that it's easy to see where original data has been changed, but it also has this node infrastructure that data is distributed to different data nodes and stored in these data nodes. So you could say, smaller packages of data which is distributed, and when coming from that, also the computing center infrastructure will be similar. So there will be different smaller computing centers analyzing you could say, the closer data package. So if there's a company, let's say a farm, sending their data, they would not be sending it to Amazon or Alibaba. They would be sending it to the closest data, to the computing center. That's also contributing to the speed factor, but it also means that you can just work with on a more local level, which I find very interesting also to know. So, and going one step further, because you asked me also about the applications, we were talking about smart factories, smart businesses, predictive maintenance via drones. We also have the autonomous driving sector, which is huge in China. We all know that there's, for example, we have Waymo in the Google, the Google company, running autonomous driving intelligence in the US. But there's also a similar company here in China, and they are actually pretty advanced. They could actually beat Google in this area. And there's a lot of interesting companies in the autonomous driving sector. So China's advanced here. And what many people don't know that is that this interconnectedness of vehicles is also needs 5G. But not only this needs 5G, but also teleoperation of driverless vehicles. So there's always going to be humans in the background, making sure that if there's an edge scenario of an autonomous vehicle, if the car or if the truck doesn't know how to decide in a specific situation, at least for today and then in the next years, there will always be a human that can, you could say, who is sitting at home in his home office, and who can just operate several tracks at the same time in these edge cases. And these teleoperation services, they are also basically run on 5G.
Right. That's super exciting.
Yeah. And then if you come, and also coming back to the gaming and video industry, which is huge in China and huge in the US, and the VR that you mentioned in relation to the Hong Kong and Beijing airport, where you can just walk around and see where to go with your Google glasses or like just smart glasses. We can also say, okay, VR and AR applications, they are leading us into the Metaverse applications. And Metaverse has two levels. We can look at the Metaverse as a consumer world, a virtual world where the consumer can do certain things. So, for example, virtual shopping, I have my virtual world where I can try on shoes, try on textiles, I can buy things. There's space for advertisements. I can actually date people online in a virtual reality. There's virtual galleries where I can purchase art. Many people have heard of MFTs. That's also one component, and this is all linked to 5G infrastructure. So like all this metaverse trend is highly dependent on this infrastructure as well, because obviously people commuting will connect to these virtual realities and virtual worlds and will like do their things online. And then one step further, the next level of the two levels that I just mentioned is the industrial space. And there is one thing that called the industrial metaverse that many of our listeners might not have heard of. Smart factories, I think we've heard of that. Smart factories mean that most of the processes, machines, tensors are digital, but we also have the trend that these worlds are not only digital and can be analyzed, but there is actually digital twins of everything, and a digital world also of a factory and of, you could say, the whole company infrastructure, which gives room to process simulations. You can really like build your cars up front in a virtual space, finding out what the errors can be, where the processes aren't smooth, what you need to optimize in order to have a like very smooth and very fast offline production. Then you have the space of virtual consumer service. So basically, if let's say if you have somebody who needs to fix a machine and whose account who's encountering some problems with fixing the machine, you can just virtually consult him, sending like not only sending him videos, but also like really diving into a virtual reality together to find out what the problem is, which also speeds up things. Remote collaboration between colleagues and also like in global distributed teams. I think this is also one space. Yeah, a lot of examples that we just mentioned, a lot of things to digest, I think. Kimo, maybe you have something to add also when looking at how we see is actually supporting all these developments in China, but also globally.
At this point in China, there's still a certain disconnect between what entrepreneurs want to do and what basically the big companies are doing. Because we have a lot of B2B structure in China, we have a lot of big companies that have been historically innovative. But the question is really, how can you help those entrepreneurs that now want to really exploit those opportunities? How can you lift them up to gain enough expertise, like we do in the US, like in Europe, with VC funds, take them at the end, and not just dumb government funding on them, to educate them in the right way? Because until now in China, we have seen a certain top-down structure. And this top-down structure basically says, okay, we have a certain trend, and companies, please execute this trend to align with the China strategy for the next 5 years.
What many people do not know is that how does startup and entrepreneurship work in the US and in Europe. I think we always speak about rapid prototyping, which basically means you need to develop a solution. You show that to the customer. You ask the customer what he thinks or she thinks about the application, what's missing, what target KPI must be visible in the application. And I'm talking about not consumer applications so much, but more the business application space here. So if a company is very advanced and very professional in, let's say, manufacturing robots, just as an example, they will give you all the KPIs, all the processes, all the things to tune and optimize. So you, as a startup, you know how to tweak and how to actually optimize your software, for example, just as something to imagine. And if you do not have this expertise, and now we come to China, if these smaller factories, for example, do not collect data because they have their hundreds of workers just producing and manufacturing something, they have lower salaries. if you have this and you don't have this expertise in house to work with with a digital infrastructure, if you're not using cloud services, if you're not optimizing and trying to get the last percentages out of your business because labor is cheap, then who are you going to ask as a startup to find out what the ideal product might be? And in these cases, you usually need a VC to also step in and say, okay, I've seen hundreds of startups working on B2B solutions, and you need to ask, and I have some experts in the background who can help you with this. But in China, you must know that the B2B investment space is pretty new. VCs usually have a B2C, a consumer background. They have scaled hundreds of consumer businesses to unicorns, but the B2B space in some areas is slightly different. And if European founders and US founders are quick, this is an opportunity that can be used.
Yeah, I think what's also pretty interesting to mention is that China has been recently hit by all these regulatory shakeups, and we can see that the combined value of VC deals in information technology, healthcare, and consumers discretionary industries dropped 55% in the first 4 months of this year, 2022. After in the previous year, it jumped like 190%. So we can see basically that meanwhile, those investment industries in energy and utilities, as well as raw materials and natural resources, are on the rise. We can see basically that this trend is only aligned with what the Chinese government is basically also supporting. We can see that anything that's not supported by the Chinese government is basically now in a major downturn. And I think we reviewed that interesting article I remember from Bloomberg that talked about China is leading the global decline in venture capital deals. And they basically stated that the value of venture deals tumbled 44% in the first 4 months of 2022, and China's financing completely suspended with pandemic downturn. But we don't think that really applies for 5G and investment in this space, because they are pretty much aligned with what the government supports.
That's actually a good roundup, because it also leads us to new interesting topics that we're going to tackle in the next episodes. I think we have learned that like 5G is more and more important. We have learned why 5G is has such a high, is such a great opportunity and has such power to disrupt the next generation of tech. And now I think we also understand why China is really heavily investing in this, you could say, key technology to be ahead of the game in all these spaces that we mentioned as application fields. And we will keep watching these trends and keep updating you on these trends, because I think this is going to pop up in almost every second, maybe it's every talk or every second talk that we have. That's just my guess. It's just omnipotent, this topic, and we'll just be there and play a leading role in most of the tech topics that we cover. And yeah, Kimo, anything from your side to add?
Yeah. In the next episode, I think we'll talk about where China is heading in the space of more of a lockdown at the moment, because China has seen a major lockdown in Shanghai, and we will definitely touch up on how this impacts the industry, how that impacts innovation in China, and also technology. What are opportunities that come from this trying times here?
So stay tuned and don't miss these coming episodes with us.
Thank you for your time, guys.